Federal agents say Stone, along with his wife Tina and his two sons, David Stone Jr. and Joshua, were planning to kill a local law enforcement member. The indictment alleges the Hutari would use that murder to attack the police funeral procession and spur an uprising of militia groups around the country.
This is going to be one of our most radical groups.
Deal with it has eroded substantially.
Is there another step to proving to BP that these plumes exist, or proving just without a reasonable doubt that these exist?
Yeah, get them to take a high school or college physics course.
That's all it would take, you know?
Well, this isn't a big mystery. The physics underlying this has been known for 150 years. It should be a surprise to nobody that plumes form underwater and that they disperse. There are underwater seeps in the Gulf of Mexico that never make it to the surface. So when Hayward came out and said that this can't be because oil floats and so it can't be down there, that's just plain wrong.
Conspiracy theories. Dr. Short, I appreciate your expertise tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
Just ahead tonight, the search for wildlife before the oil that invaded their habitat takes their lives. Also, oil rig survivors talking about the signs of trouble they say they saw before the disaster.
Welcome back. We turn now to the health effects of the Gulf oil spill. We've already seen more than half dozen cleanup workers hospitalized and other people complaining of headaches, nausea, dizziness, skin irritation, and a series of other problems. And much of it is being blamed on the chemical dispersants being used. And joining me now from Tampa, Florida, is Dr. Seth Foreman. Dr. Foreman, thanks for joining us.
Hi, Cameron. Thank you.
What are your thoughts regarding this chemical dispersant? What makes you feel so confident? I believe you compared it even to Agent Orange.
Well, it's not that I'm necessarily confident. I'm just concerned about the potential acute and long-term side effects of using something which really doesn't have long-term safety data.
And we know that the EPA...
I feel that...
Go ahead, I'm sorry. I apologize. Go ahead.
Well, what I was saying is that I'm concerned about my patients who may come in. Now I actually add to my patient profile, have you been to the beach? Have you done any fishing in the Gulf? And do you have any new rashes? And I'll be concerned about new rashes that I don't recognize. I'll be concerned that possibly it is associated with either the oil spill itself or possibly the cleanup, which right now is being mainly done by Corexit. There have been over 850,000 gallons of this dumped into the oil spill.
And let me ask you, is it the dispersant itself or the, as you point out, the amount of it that is being used that would potentially cause problems here?
Well, that's a good question. We don't exactly know the answer to that question. All we know is that there is over 850,000 gallons of the dispersant has been sent into the oil spill, and we don't know what a safe concentration is.
And, you know, it's interesting because the company that makes this chemical dispersant says that they have no proof, or there is no proof, that some of these issues that we're seeing have anything to do directly with that chemical. Does that surprise you that they would be so adamant in saying, without any true knowledge and knowing that it has not been used in this quantity, that it is not the reason that these people have rashes and some of them have had to be hospitalized with things like nausea?
It's very unusual considering I reviewed the MSDS of Corexit, and it does say directly long-term exposure or high concentrations can cause CNS toxicity, central nervous system, nausea, vomiting, kidney disease, liver disease, as well as severe dermatitis.
How long, what happens at this point with something like this? Do you wait until you have more patients coming in and complaining? As I said, one woman said her daughter was experiencing some problems. They went off to Florida and she didn't see the rash anymore. How do we learn or know, or are we just waiting to see more signs and problems?
This is a great time for dermatologists everywhere to really step it up and really look for unusual rashes and exposures that patients may have. We need to take a good history, a good fishing and possibly beach history. We just ushered in Memorial Day weekend, the largest. I have mixed feelings about beach weekends, and now my feelings are even more mixed.
Wow.
So we need to also look out and reach out to other doctors. We have to ask about other symptoms. Do you have any numbness or tingling? Do you feel dizzy? Do you feel faint? Any associated issues that go along with having this rash, and then monitor for any exposures they may have.
All right. Well, Doctor, we greatly appreciate you coming on. You're expressing a concern that we're hearing from so many other, not just medical professionals, and we greatly appreciate it. Thank you for coming on. And let me know what you think. Go to twitter.msnbc.com for any of your thoughts. A couple of people are already saying that comparing the BP cleanup to the 9/11 cleanup and worrying if we will see people with injuries and suffering from long-term health effects of the cleanup as well. So thank you for your tweets. And before we let you go, we moved our no waste.
So does anybody expect the unions to now get behind the White House's candidate, Senator Lincoln? Most have said about they didn't like Blanche Lincoln because she wouldn't vote for basically card check, something that would make it easier for unions to unionize, and she didn't like the public option on the health care bill, and they tried to make her pay and they failed. She didn't like the public option on the health care bill, and they tried to make her pay and they failed. She didn't like the public option on the health care bill, and they tried to make her pay and they failed.
Psych them up. Lie to them. They love to lie too. Yes. And for the ones that ask for a public option. Yes. What is this? It's a butt plug. Yes, butt plug. Yes, they can go plug themselves for a public option. Yeah. Give each one of them that and tell them it's universal. Everybody can use it. Yes.
He only released the clip today and only after lawmakers gave him hell. Meantime, we're tracking the toll the oil spill is taking on wildlife. We were out on boats all day today. That's why I'm all burned. According to the latest official numbers, nearly 600 birds, 250 sea turtles have been found dead so far. Although accurate numbers, frankly, who knows how many have actually died. We wanted to go up close to show you what is being done to find these animals before it's too late, though we did not get as close as we wanted for reasons you'll see. Each day they set out, the rules weren't in place, and we saw these 3 gulls being brought ashore. Completely covered in oil, they gasped for breath, unable to move. Exactly why federal officials now make it impossible to get pictures like this is not clear to us. Exactly why federal officials now make it impossible to get pictures like this is not clear to us. This is the reality of what oil does to birds. This is the reality everyone should be able to see. I gotta say, it was very frustrating to be that close and for some reason not be able to, walk 10 feet and actually, we're planning on. Attorney Steve Gordon represents all 5 survivors we interviewed. You're saying that BP was negligent, yes?
At least. That's putting it nicely. I would say that.
How would you put it?
Well, I've seen negligence, I've seen gross negligence, and this conduct is criminal, what they did.
Criminal?
Yeah, there's a crime scene sitting 5,000 feet below the water.
What way do you think that they are criminally negligent?
You heard my client say that BP came in and overrode the decision of the driller at Transocean. When they did that, they in essence took over on that day. And the decision that they made to displace the mud with salt water on a well that they knew had dangerous propensities, I believe is criminal.
Police are investigating what they call another attempted attack on an anti-gang task force. It's the same police unit that somebody's been targeting in a string of recent sort of booby trap attacks. A spokesman for the Hemet Police Department tells Fox News officers found a vintage military rocket on the roof of a supermarket. A rocket! Good grief. It was pointed in the direction of the task force building. Cops say the nearly 9-round rocket was inert and had apparently malfunctioned, but its motor was still burning. Trace Gallagher's on this from our California studios. What else a rocket aimed at the cops? Are you kidding me?
Yeah, vintage military rocket ship is actually called an M29A2, and what happened, we're being told, is the rocket was actually launched, and it fell short, and that's when it landed on top of this grocery store, and the engine was still running on this thing, but it was aimed toward the police department, is what authorities believe. When it landed on top of the grocery store, it started a fire. The fire department put it out. That's when they found this vintage rocket, 9 pounds, flying through the air. It's inert, so it could not explode on impact, but boy, can you imagine a 9-pound projectile flying through the air, the damage that could do if it hit somebody or hit a window and went through it. And they do believe, again, it was targeting the Hemet Police Department. By the way, just outside of Palm Springs is where Hemet is.
What is this, like the 6th time somebody's tried to attack these guys?
At least the 6th, yeah. Back in January, someone actually took a natural gas hose and piped it inside one of the Hemet Police Departments. That was caught in the nick of time. The same month, someone put a zip gun attached to a gate on a police fence, and it was designed to go off as soon as someone opened the gate. In March, an explosive device was hooked to an unmarked police car. The same month, 4 code enforcement trucks were torched. And the same month, a fire was set to a mobile police unit. 6 incidents in 6 months targeting the Hemet Police Department.
Do they have any clue who might be doing this, Trace?
They think it's gang activity. The Riverside DA came out a couple of months ago and said, we think this is a white supremacist group. The police are kind of backing off that now, but they do believe that gang activity is involved in this because they keep targeting the gang unit.